Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of When the Cleats Come Off. I have one of the most decorated pitchers of all time on the podcast this week. Needs no introduction. Monica Abbott. What's going on, girl?
Hey, what is happening? I'm so happy to be here. I've been listening to When the Cleats Come Off, all the episodes with Aubrey and Delaney and Tosh, and just so much good information. And it's such an honor to be able to be on the podcast with you today.
This was a long time coming. I've been so excited for this interview. I've even asked some of those people you just mentioned to ask you questions, which we'll get to later. I'm very excited. You have like no idea what I'm talking about, but it'll be fun. So as a podcast for parents and coaches to kind of like understand what it takes to become great, I love starting with the question of tell us about the inception of softball for you and where it's kind of led you. As long as it takes, kind of like start at the very beginning and then finish off to where you are now.
For sure. Well, okay. So for me, softball, how did I start playing softball? Okay. So you have to know, like, I'm one of 5 kids. And so my older sister came home from school and wanted to play softball. So my mom signed her up, basically. Her name's Jessica. She was super excited to play. All our friends at school were playing. So we go down to the rec league. It was called the Bobby Sox, and my mom signs her up. So of course, being Jessica's little sister, and I just ended up falling into the sport as like a tag along, to be honest. I was like the younger sister, and not really like into the game so much. Like I played right field, I ate snacks, I did cheers,
like all of us. I love that.
Yeah, I was like, my biggest goal was like chasing foul balls so I could get like a free lollipop, like from the snack bar. Like that was like my biggest goal each day. And but Jessica, on the other hand, she was, really, really talented. She's a number 4 hitter, super strong, played shortstop, all the things. And so for the first part of my career, I just was, Jessica's sister in the game. And that's how I started. And then eventually Jessica's team needed a pitcher. So Jessica decided that she was going to pitch. And why not? Like, she's the best player. She's the most athletic. She's strong, big shoulders. And so we went to like the local coach there that was giving lessons at our rec ball field. And guess who had to catch for her?
You.
Yeah, it was awful. Like, it was so awful.
Like, I feel like you needed to go through that to know that's not for me.
It was like, when I tell you it was awful, like at this point, like, I don't think I had even mastered like catching the ball and throwing the ball yet. Like I ducked, dipped, dived, dodged out of every single pitch she threw. And I was like just miserable getting up and down. And at that time, I probably looked like a baby giraffe because I was like, all legs, like super skinny, just like trying to like catch this ball that she was throwing that was coming really hard, hurting my hand. And I was still actually probably, maybe a little afraid of the ball at the time. And, but she went to a pitching lesson, and long story short, at the end of the lesson, I'm like, praise Jesus, it's over. Like, thank God I get to go home now. Like, I'm calling my friends, we're getting on the bikes, all this sort of thing. And I'm like struggling, taking off the shin guards that the coach had. And the coach comes over to me and he goes, "Hey, Monica." And I'm like, "Hey." He's like, "You don't like catching, do you?" And I'm like, no, I do not. Like, look at me. Like, I miss like every ball. And he goes, "Look, like, you're obviously not a catcher, but you're left-handed, you're tall." He goes, "I'm left-handed and I would love to teach you how to pitch one day if you're interested." And I thought nothing of it. I went home, and a couple of days later, I went to Mom and was like, "Mom, you think I could get a pitching lesson from, he said that maybe he could give me a lesson. What about me? Can I have one?" And my mom was like, "Monica, no." she goes, Monica, no, you're not getting a pitching lesson. You're afraid of the ball. You don't even like softball. You play right field.
No way.
She's like, no, like, Monica, you're joking. No. I was like, no, Mom, look, I could do it. Like trying to do a pitching motion in the house, And she goes, after a couple of days of like trying to convince my mom to give me a pitching lesson, which, my mom, Julie, she's a hard-nosed woman. She stood her ground, and then finally she goes, okay, you want a pitching lesson? And she like bargains with me. And she's like, gives me a laundry list of chores that is like the worst chores that you have to do. Like clean the bathroom, vacuum the stairs, vacuum the car, like mow the lawn.
She's like, how bad do you really want it?
Yeah, clean up the dog poops. Like literally, how bad do you want it? Do you really want it? Do you really want this pitching lesson? And I looked at her like dead straight in the eye, and I'm like, okay, Mom, I'll do it. I like check everything off. I spent the entire weekend like cleaning, don't play with anyone. I'm like 12 at this time, and don't play with anyone. Check off everything that she had on that list of chores. And then I put out the bucket and handed her the list. And I put out the bucket in our front yard and handed her the list. And that was how I got my first pitching lesson and
wow,
became a pitcher.
Oh my gosh. What a story of resiliency. Are you kidding? That's so fun. Like, that's hilarious. I never knew you caught. I mean, for a split second. That's kind of like me. I was thrown in an all-star game and they're like, Ashley, go catch it. And I think I like closed my eyes every time. Like I like didn't even see it go into my glove. I think it hit me in the chest protector more times than it hit my glove.
Oh, 100%. And it's like one of those things where you see the gear as like a little kid and you're like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Like that looks awesome. Like you're going to be like a superhero back there. And like, you want to try it. And then you get down there and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. No, no.
So you have people like Aubrey Monroe that are like, this is for me. I love this. And then you have people like us that are like, peace out. Not happening.
Yeah, peace out. Like, I'm good. Like, I'll go back to right field, but it took me a while to find a home on the softball field and just to find my place. I think, I didn't come into it just like, oh, one day I woke up and I was like throwing 70 miles an hour. I started in right field. I was known as Jessica's sister for probably the first 5 years of my career. And then eventually I moved to center field and then I tried short. And then I think I went first base and then pitching, and then finally as a pitcher. But I think it just took a while to find a position that fit me as an athlete and as a person. But, props to my coaches for like giving me the opportunity to try like almost every position for at least a game or two.
Yeah. And that pitching coach that was like, hey, I think you'd be a great pitcher. And like, you probably had no idea.
Right. Exactly. Like, okay, like you want me to be a pitcher? Like I'm sitting back there, like dodging balls, like
yeah, that's
at a lesson. And I'm like, oh God, you want me to pitch? Yeah. Right.
I have a question. Did you play a lot of sports? Or did you just kind of start out with that?
No, like I did a lot. Like I was a very active kid. Like in my neighborhood, like we had the house at the very kind of like at the turn of the block. So like everyone kind of, met around there, but organized sports, I did softball and basketball and then swimming as a young kid. And then a little bit of volleyball. I never really got into it, like organized volleyball very much. And then as a neighborhood, like you couldn't keep us out of the streets. Like literally we were playing soccer, tag, we were making ramps, like in the middle of the driveways, like literally all the kids hung out there. We were playing dodgeball and foursquare and flag football and, everything. So we had a very active, like little neighborhood as kids.
Mm-hmm. You probably have scars all over your body because you're just like,
oh my gosh,
going crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like roller. We used to play like roller hockey and we'd have like these massive, like these epic wars that would last like 3 or 4 days.
Oh my God.
That's how, and then we would go on to the next sport, like flag football or soccer or dodgeball or whatever it was. But yeah, there's lots of falls and all of that.
Yeah. So I grew up on close to a cul-de-sac, and I kind of like you remember all of my days after school would just like spend time outside. The only thing was I was the only girl that was like athletic in the whole entire block. So it was like a bunch of boys. Did you have like boys and girls playing with you? Was it just girls?
Well, so my older sister Jessica would play sometimes, but I was actually really close with my brother Jared. And then my neighbor, her name was Jen. And so we would be the 3 girls, and then there would be a bunch of boys. There was a couple older kids down the street, so we'd always get pushed around by them. But like if you weren't outside holding a ball at the end of after school, like after your snack when you got home, like who were you? Like everyone was waiting, like everyone was waiting to be outside and to like kind of play, especially, during the like warmer months. But yeah, I would say like there's a lot of like, it was a mix, like boys and girls.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think I always said the boys made me tough, but it sounds like everybody in your neighborhood was just tough. Like it was just, let's play a game. Let's beat each other up. Let's be competitive. And I think that's where your competitive muscle always starts. It's like at that age,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think like at a young age, like it's just fun to be able to like play different games and like try. And then there's that period of, that, I don't know, that 5th to maybe, I don't know, that 8, let's call it 8 to like 13 years old, where like all of a sudden you're like, no, I want to win. Like, don't push me. Like I'm pushing you back.
Yeah. You doubt me? I'm going after you.
No, you're not. Like,
oh, that's so fun. I love that. Okay. So this is kind of like how your spark of sports started, and you started realizing, okay, I can be a pretty great pitcher. Now, like, take me into the high school years for you.
Okay. Like what?
I don't know. Like, so you probably realized you're pretty good at what age? Maybe before high school?
Yeah. So I started pitching at kind of like later after, I won the chores list and convinced my mom. I won that epic battle of mom versus Monica. And then, so I started pitching then and like created a little routine and kind of like slowly got better and better. And then went into high school, was playing travel ball for the Salinas Storm. And yeah, I think at that point I was playing, I remember my freshman year of high school, like I was really good at basketball as well. So, I was playing basketball. Our team was like undefeated. I was having so much fun. Our coach was doing really good. Our team was doing really good. And then there started to be like rumors at our school, like the little like gossip mill of high school. And it was like, well, someone said that, this freshman's going to make varsity. We don't put freshmen on varsity, like, and all of this. And my high school, we had like a history of a pretty good softball program, a very competitive softball program where they'd been to like a couple championships and sent some girls off to college. And so my freshman year, they had like a pretty stacked team. But so there was this like rumor mill, like this freshman's not going to make it. Like, who's this kid? And so I came late to softball tryouts because basketball season ran over because it like overlaps. And we had made like playoffs because our team was good and all of that. And then I just remember like the first day they had me like with the freshman team or something, like playing catch, because the teams had already started to like separate a little bit by the time I got there. And right away, then like the JV coach came over, no, you're not playing freshman. We're going to take you on JV. And then I started to like throw some more and like move around. They're like, what are you doing over here? You're going to varsity. We know you're going to. So it's almost like, I feel like they kind of like had, they had played that. The coaches had played that out in their head. Like, this is the girl. Let's like put her down, like slowly move her up that day and see if she's there. So, but I ended up playing varsity my freshman year of high school. and went into high school as a pitcher, first baseman, hit like number 5 in that mid range, 3, 4, 5 area. Really young, and yeah. My best pitch at that time, I think, was my screwball or my curveball, which is kind of interesting. And actually, I always say this at clinics. Do you mind if I just like do a little blip here?
Go for it.
So that same pitching coach that suggested I be a pitcher. I'm going into high school. I think it was like either right before my freshman year or after my freshman year. And he goes to me, he goes, Monica, you're doing good. You're a good pitcher. You're having some success, but you're going to go into high school, and you're going to play with the big dogs now. He was really adamant. And he was like a men's fast pitch player. So, I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm so excited. Like, high school is going to be so fun. And he goes, well, the hitters are going to be bigger than you now, and they're going to be tougher. And I'm like, kind of like starting to be like, oh God, oh no.
Not fun anymore.
Not fun. The right fielder in my heart, like, is coming out, and the coach goes, he goes, okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to prepare you. And he goes, you have a good curveball now, and you have, you're doing good, but right now you need a pitch that's going to get people out. Like, you need a pitch that can define you. And he goes, and a pitch that can like help you get some of the bigger kids. So we're going to work on a rise ball. And that's how kind of like my rise ball started. So I want to say right around that time, that's when I started developing my rise ball. I was in high school, which is obviously the pitch I'm known for. And that's taken me to like every level of the game. But I'll never forget that he's like, you need a pitch that can separate yourself. You need a pitch that can like, you can dominate with, and that can like, take you to the next level post high school. If you want to go to college or the Olympics or whatever you want to do, you need a pitch that can get the big girls out. And I think he said, and I want to teach you the rise ball. And I'll never forget that, because he didn't try to teach me every single pitch in the world. Like, he just said, you'll still have your other pitches, and we'll work on those a little bit here and there. But he said, like, this is the pitch that can elevate your game. This is the pitch that can, create more opportunities for you. And then your other pitches can like help you along the way.
Yeah. That's such a cool story. I love that. This actually kind of goes along with, so I asked my ABT community, which is a Facebook group that I'm in there all the time talking about podcasts. And I was like, hey, so if I had this pitcher on, what would you ask? And this came from Corey. She asked, what strategies would you give a young pitcher to use when they don't have many pitches yet? And I think you dabbled into it right there, but like, what would you say to that type of pitcher? Like, go with that pitch, that punch out pitch that you want to get really good at, and get really good at that, and then move on? Or how would you go about that?
I would say, like, depending on the age group, like, you have to remember when I got like my go-to or like my punch out pitch, the like game changer of a pitch for me, I was in high school. Like, yeah. I was like 15 years old at that time. Like, I started pitching when I was like 12, a little bit like later in years than most people start nowadays. But I was already had been pitching for a little bit of time. I think it's super important for people to focus on like their form and getting their mechanics down. You can do a lot with the fastball. Yeah. You can do a lot with a located fastball. And I always say, like, I love that like young kids are learning to throw like, curve, screw, drop, rise, change, off speed, all these off speed, curve, drop, like all these different pitches. But I will say that I believe that it is easier to learn great pitches like a go-to rise ball if your mechanics and form are good. Like, if you're able to spot a fastball, then you work your way up the ladder. You go to a screwball or a curveball, and then eventually maybe you go to like a drop or a rise ball. Usually like a pitcher favors one, and then you develop the change. But you can do a lot with a located fastball. And if your mechanics and form are correct, and you can hit the spots and things like that. And if you start developing speed with that, then it's going to be so much easier for you to go ahead and develop like a dominant pitch, a pitch that can like change the game for you, a pitch that can take you to another level, that can open doors and create opportunities for you at an older age. Like, I think my growth period with the rise ball, when I first started, like how to develop it, and I was able to start throwing it in games pretty quickly because my form and basic, my mechanics were so sound at a young age. So I think that part is really important, and you don't have to rush. Like, you don't have to rush to develop, a Monica Abbott rise ball or a Cat Osterman drop ball or, an Ali Carter changeup. You don't have to rush to develop those like go-to strikeout pitches. You can do a lot with a great form, locating, and then maybe a changeup or a mix of speed. I think that is like the key at a young age. And then as you get older, develop those other go-to amazing pitches to take you to wherever you want to go within this sport. Opportunities are endless. It's there if you want it. And once you get a little bit older and your mechanics are under your belt, then start developing those.
That's such good advice. I hope people are taking notes right now. If you're not taking notes and you're listening to this, you need to whip out a notebook because we're about to dive into pitching a ton. I have a fun story I want to share with you.
Uh-oh.
So I think it was like 7th or 8th grade. I was actually on a team. So I was kind of like your sister, Jessica, the one who is just a gamer and just wants to always win. And we didn't have a pitcher and I knew nothing about pitching. And so my dad and I literally like went on YouTube, figured out like the whole pizza circle, like hold the Coke can, like all the things that, you find on YouTube. So I like figured out how to pitch. My dad was so good at just letting me kind of like have fun with it and like do my thing. So I specifically remember this session where my dad's, on the bucket, just catching balls. Half the time I'm hitting his shins, kind of how it goes.
Of course.
Yeah. Sorry, Dad, for all of that.
Sorry, Mom.
But I remember like standing on the mound. I'm like, hey, can I do like Monica's,
Yes, please.
I'm like, can I try this out? And like, so I was not super tall early on. Like, I think I was like 5'1" going into high school. And then it was like my junior year where I became closer to 6 foot. So I grew like a ton in a short period of time.
Wow.
When I first started, I was little, skinny. But I was just like, I want to try Monica's, her motion, which I believe you changed a little bit since that time.
Mm-hmm.
I watched you originally, competing for the Olympics and things like that. But I remember like doing it and I'm like, I love this so much. Like, I don't even know why I like it, but I'm like, I feel long, I feel powerful. Like, let's go. It's like the rest of the day, I'm just like throwing your pitch. And it was just like fun because I love
I love that. Thank you.
I just love trying something new. And I think there were other times I was like, oh, I want to be like Cat today. I want to like put the in my head.
You're trying to like imitate, and that's important. I have to tell you, like the other day, and so I'm like an Instagram person, but like, I guess someone had posted this like reel that they tagged me in. And it was like it was like probably like an 8-year-old or 10-year-old girl. And I was dying laughing because it was like a pitcher and she's like the pitch, all the different pitching styles, the grunter, the leg slapper, the, the grunter, the leg slapper, the crazy motion. And then it was the Monica Abbott. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a trend. Like, this is legit. Like, let's go.
Trending on Instagram reels. Oh, I love that. Just imagine if social media was where it is today, like back when we started playing. Just imagine.
It would be so different. But I love that you like tried it and I tried my motion and everything. And a lot of people do. And I just think it's really cool, having someone imitate you or like try something that maybe they wouldn't have thought of themselves. But like you said, feeling long, feeling powerful, that part right there, that pumps me up.
Yes, I know. And like, I think that was the cool part. Like my dad was just like, yeah, just, it's not for to make you throw a strike. And I just felt like when I did it, I just got into a better position where I just like threw heat. I'm like, well, now it makes sense why she throws fast. Because like, it just kind of made me understand why, So I think great point. Like if you are a pitcher and you're just like so kind of bored right now, just like try something new. Like pitch like mommy, pitch like cat. Like just try something and see if it sticks. Because I can tell you, like later on, I didn't have your motion, but I think your motion helped me kind of like find my own, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You know, like it's really, especially now, like people are so lucky to have, you know, the TV, the social media, like all this different accessibility to people, listening, learning, watching, all of those things. And a lot of times, like in order for someone to learn better, like you have to see it, right? Like you have to see someone else doing it. And then you kind of like pick and choose. You take a piece from me, you take a piece from someone on TV, you take a piece from, you know, what your coach said, and then you mold it into like this beautiful little, you know, sculpture and picture of what becomes you as a person and you as a softball athlete. And I think that's really, really key as you develop. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, this is so fun. I love talking about pitching. Okay, so there is something you said before, and I want to just kind of go back to it for a second. You were talking about how the changeup can be one of those later pitches, but a lot of people teach command your fastball, like be able to hit spots with your fastball. Like you don't even know how much damage that can do. Like if you can see a hitter just throwing your hands out at outside pitches and you can command a low outside pitch, like that can be your go-to right now. And then a lot of people teach that directly they go to changeup after that.
Yes.
So is that how did you do the changeup right away, or was that again later?
Girl, did I do the changeup right away? I did every changeup that you could possibly think of.
You probably have such big hands. You probably had like a 3 knuckleball like change. I did try that in high school.
I do want to say, like what you said to your point about the outside, I do believe like as a young pitcher, if you can command the outside corner, if you can consistently hit the outside corner, you are going to be successful in pitching. Like just hit the outside corner, y'all. Like seriously, I don't know what's up with these hitters, but sorry, hitters, I love you guys if you're on my team, but hit the outside corner. That is like a huge key, especially at a young age. And even I would say in high school softball, like if you can hit the outside corner, like you're going to put yourself in a good position to be successful. You're going to put your team in a good position to be successful.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm totally going to venture off into the fastball again, because you throw 72 miles an hour. Were you ever scared to throw an inside pitch with your speed?
Oh God, no.
Never afraid.
I did hit a couple of people.
Yeah.
So like after I hit them, then I felt bad.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But you weren't scared to just go after that spot.
No.
That's good. I really just wanted to mention that because I know some athletes are scared to hit someone. And if you're ever on the mound and you're scared to hit someone, guess what? You're going to hit them.
Yeah. Don't be scared to hit them. And then honestly, a lot of people wear Evo Shield. To tell my pitchers out there, just know most hitters have an Evo Shield these days. So you're good. Like that protects them. Just like go in, be aggressive. And outside super important, like I said, but obviously you have to be able to hit the inside corner as well. So
yeah, I know since you're left-handed, which we haven't even talked about yet, I'm also a lefty hitter. I remember you throwing high and inside curveballs at me like it was your day job. I was like, come on.
Let's go.
Okay, let's go to another story while we're here. One of my favorite stories of my own resilience against you is one of my favorites to tell. I probably said it on the podcast already. I think there was this game where I was up against you like 3 times, which to even hit against you 3 times in a lineup is like very rare. But I remember the first time I hit off of you, and you probably have like no idea, but you could see it on my face. I was just terrified. I was like, holy crap. I watched you play at Tennessee and now we're in the pro league and I'm like up against, how does this work? And even the dugout's like, oh, Monica's on the mound. And I'm sitting here like, what does that mean? Like, I don't understand. So I was just like shaking in my boots before I walk into that box, like probably most people that see you for the first time. And you probably read right through me. I think you threw 3 fastballs right down the middle, didn't even touch one. And I sat like the very first time and I was like, okay, well, I'm supposed to hit 2 more times today. And like, that's not going to happen again. Like, it was just like, I needed that slap in the face. Because you do, like, you pitch, I swear your foot goes outside the circle. I swear, like from my perspective, I'm like, her foot is landing outside the circle. And I'm a lefty that normally stands in the middle of the box. Okay, we're gonna have to make some adjustments. So it was like my second at bat that day. No one's hitting off of you that day. I think maybe Kaylin Castillo maybe had like a single. But I go back up there and I'm like, okay, well, worst case scenario happened. I struck out in 3. My goal is to just touch you. Literally like a professional athlete, so like sitting here, like, I'm just going to try to touch her and like see what happens. So my mission, like in the box, I was like, all right, just touch her, just touch her. And I saw a ball go by. I was like, oh my God, this is great. I can actually see it. This is literally what's going on in my head. And I really want people to know this because I mean, I'm a professional athlete, still trying to keep it simple here. And I remember I like popped up to the third baseman and of course I'm out, but I was like, I did what I said I was going to do. Like I touched her, you know, and this is literally me. And then I had like one more shot that game and I'm like, okay, well, obviously I struck out in 3. I'm finally touching her. What's better than a pop up? Okay, let's go for like a hard ground ball. And you made that at bat so hard. I think I remember I watched another ball, but then you threw me this curveball in my hands. And your curveball, it's like coming to hit me and then it's going to be a strike. So I was just like, okay, just attack it. Let's hit a hard ground ball. And I hit like the hardest ground ball I've ever hit in my life to the second baseman. And of course, like she gets me out, but internally I'm like, I did it. Like,
I did it. Hey.
I like found a way.
You know, I love that. I mean, it's so important, but I just think like, it's cool, you know, like those internal battles, like between pitchers and hitters are just, they're so fun. Like they are so fun. I live for them. And, you know, it's fun. And it's fun to see like adjustments that people make and then trying to like figure out the puzzle of how to get them out.
Yeah. It's like a chess match.
It's cool. Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's a chess match. It's like amazing picture. And then just like, yeah, I don't know. It's just fun to see like people grow. And then also like, you know, I don't know. It's just like softball is so fun.
It is
so fun.
That's why it's our living. That's why it's our life.
Yeah.
So I guess a question that I have from that is, so obviously you're a pitcher that can probably read through a hitter. Like if a hitter looks scared, you're in the driver's seat. What do you notice that hitters do that kind of make you internally go, all right, well, fastballs down the middle are going to do the job. Like, what do you see in a hitter? That away. What did you see in me that day?
Okay. Well, what I saw in you was your knees were shaky and like your eyes look really big.
Yep.
No, I would say like, I'm at the point now where like, if I know someone has never seen me, like never faced me, like I'm just like, fireballs, let's go.
Show them what you got.
Yeah, because you know, at this point, you know, a hitter's probably coming into the box, like, and their team is telling them like, hey, she throws rise balls, she throws hard, like make sure you're ready. Da, 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 da. So all of these things. So I'm just like, okay, they're probably gonna want to watch one because they want to like, you know, get the feel or like, yeah, get the feel of like what my pitch feels like and all of that. And then maybe try to see if they're check their timing and stuff like that. So usually I try to like, especially if it's their first at bat, you know, I do really try to attack them pretty hard.
I think that's good. I think that's like, and when you think about it, when you're probably hitting or pitching against people who have seen you multiple times, are you trying to play to your strengths or are you trying to make them miss? Does that make sense?
I think no matter if you're a pitcher or a hitter, you should always play to your strengths, right?
Always.
I mean,
you're giving me
as a hitter, would you not want to, as a hitter, do you want to like, just like, I mean, you want to play to your strength as a hitter, right?
Yes.
Your strength,
give me whatever you're blowing in. Give it to me.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah, exactly. And that just depends on like, what is your, and it can vary, you know, like your strength on Saturday can change from what your strength on Sunday is. Like that's a real thing. Like your strength can change day to day, right? Like depending on how you feel, what your body's doing, your recovery, your preparation, you know, all of that. But I think as an athlete, you always have to play to whatever your strength is. And then you manage other things. And does your strength change day to day sometimes? Maybe at bat to at bat, pitch like hitter to hitter, like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So I know these are probably naive questions, but I know so many here have daughters who have just started pitching and,
Mhm.
they want to give them the right tools to at least think about and execute in games. How important is a first pitch strike?
You know, I think it's important. I'm a fan of it. Um, I'm at a different level, but let me talk about like it from like a youth level rather than the
Yes.
level that I play at.
Yeah.
And I think from the youth level, I think a first pitch strike is really important. And honestly, like try to just pound the zone,
Mm,
especially if you're in eight, 8U, 10U, 12U, I would say just try to throw as many strikes as you can,
yeah.
you're not every pitch is going to be a strike. Um, but just go ahead and like, just try to attack the hitter and just do the best you can,
Yeah.
in the zone.
Yeah.
And then as you get into like 14 and under and 16 and under, hopefully you're starting to develop some other pitches. And then I would say try to like use those pitches to their strength that day.
Mm,
Maybe if you're screwball, attacking the outside corner to go inside, attacking the inside corner to go outside, start to create a little bit more plan.
hmm.
And then, 16s to 18s, hopefully you have like more of a go-to pitch that's vertical, up and down versus lateral. So a rise or a drop at that point, you're starting to develop that. Then, really work on using that to get your big outs,
Mm,
to get ahead of hitters. And then, you can complement with the other pitches that you've been throwing, like whether it's a fastball or a screwball or a curveball or a changeup, that's more of a lateral pitch.
good. So you said this is all for youth. I really want to know, just personally, maybe a first pitch strike isn't what you're looking for right now. What is kind of your approach in that regard with more advanced hitters?
Like at my level.
Yeah. Are you willing
Ooh,
to
yeah.
share?
You're trying to get in there, trying to get
I
some
mean, who knows? They might have
data.
it bad off you. No, I won't.
Um, yeah, it really kind of just depends on the hitter and the strategy that we're taking per hitter. I do like a first pitch strike. What they say is that every time a hitter watches a strike, their batting average goes down 300 points.
Mm,
So, and a lot of hitters like to watch the first one, and that's fine. Some swing at it too. So it's really at my level, it really is a little bit of more of a guessing game, because I want to get ahead. I want like what is called count control. I want count control so then I can get count leverage. Count leverage is when you're ahead in the count. You're 1-2, 0-2, maybe even 2-2, I would say. And 0-0, like you want count leverage. So then I can get you to swing at something you don't want to. Oops. It helps me
you're
talk.
good. You're good.
Then I can get you to swing at something that you don't want to, right? Like, or I can get you to foul something off to create that count leverage. So I do like a good first pitch strike. Does it always happen? No. Like sometimes you have to have a little bit more strategy to it.
Mm-hmm.
I know nowadays a lot of hitters are swinging at first pitches a lot more, which I think is smart from the hitting standpoint. If the hitter's timing is on and they're feeling confident and it's the pitch they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same point, I think like at the professional level, at the Olympic level that we're at, like it is such a strategy thing, and it is such a like give and take, and at the end of the day, my job is to get out. So if I throw a first pitch and she pops it up to the second baseman, like I'm happy, like
Mm-hmm.
if I throw a first pitch and let's say she fouls it, a hard foul ball down the left field line, like that's still a good thing for me. If I throw a first pitch and she watches it, like then it's kind of like, okay, what is she looking for? Like
Yeah.
that, and then let's say I throw a first pitch and like she swings and misses like really aggressively. I'm like, oh gosh, she was looking for that one, but at the end of the day, like I'm trying to get the ball in and out of the zone as quickly as possible, because the hitters that we're facing at the Olympic level and the professional level, I mean, they're freaking good. They are so good.
Yeah.
Like they are really, really good. And I don't want to like count that.
Just the offensive part of the game is exploding. It wasn't always that way. Like I remember watching when I was younger and it was like, no, it's like pitchers kind of dominated everything. And now pitchers like, I don't know what it is about the offense. I couldn't tell you exactly what the remedy has been, but I've just seen hitters just evolve so much in the past, 12 years since the last Olympics, but it sounds like you agree.
Yeah. I definitely agree. And I think especially like, I would even say like in the last 5 years, it's even gotten even better. I think a couple things, I think just accessibility, right? And information is better. Like the people that are teaching hitting now, a lot of them played. So a lot of them played and a lot of them were successful hitters. So that's like the trickle down, ripple effect there. So I think that's happening. Technology, our accessibility to information is so much better. If you want the information to be a better hitter, if you want the drills, if you want the like, even watching and imitating some of the world's best hitters, you can do that. You can go Google Haley McClenny. You can go Google Valerie Arioto or whoever it is, you can go Google all these people and try to imitate their swing. So just as people were imitating pitchers, they're imitating hitters. And now they're seeing it more. When you watch, you learn whether you're imitating or not. I just think accessibility to information, better coaching, and technology in the game as far as like the bats and just what you have access to analyze and things like that is a lot better.
Yeah, I totally agree. All of those things and above. Are there things that you use right now as a pitcher? I know there's like this cool thing you like strap to your leg that you like to use.
Yes.
What are things that you're using as a pitcher right now?
So one of like the big tools I like right now, obviously like anytime, I'll say this first, like besides the strap thing that you're talking about, that's the Velo Pro. People use it for hitting or for pitching. I love that. It talks about like creating ground force, which is kind of like a high level thing, but it's like the force you put down into the ground to like create power out. So it helps create ground force, which I really love. But I will say one thing that is my go-to, no matter what or where I am, you'll always find me with them. I sound like a commercial, but is my bands. I mean, I feel like I'm with Jaeger Sports, and
I still have those from Pro. Yeah.
It's they are like a small company, but I tell you what, like if you're in softball, especially, I would say at least high school age, I think they're probably a little bit advanced for like 12 and under age group, or even 14 and under age group. But if you're a high school player and you want to play college softball, or if you want to like play professional, or you have Olympic dreams, like get yourself a pair of bands and like take care of your shoulder. Because if you can't throw overhand in this game, and you can't throw overhand well, like, and you're not taking care of it, like eventually it'll break down. And I think that those bands have just like really helped eliminate some of that pain that people get from throwing. So I'm a big fan of it. I think they work well.
That's so good. I actually started using those. I did a little in high school, but in college we did them every day. And I can't tell you how strong I felt from even doing them. And I'm sure that you can learn different routines and things to do to just like gain muscle strength in your shoulder and things, like on YouTube. I'm sure if you go to their website, they can teach you how to use it. But yeah, that's a must for anybody. Like if you throw a softball, you need to be doing this.
Yeah. Like anytime I pitch in practice, I do them every day. Like, I mean, and I wouldn't say every day, but if I'm going to do a pitching workout, or if I'm going to throw at practice, I'm doing them before I throw. Like, but like you said, it just becomes one of those things that you incorporate into your routine. And so I think especially like your older high school, 18 and under kids, like it would be smart of you all to go and grab yourself a band or do some sort of shoulder care work, because like, I mean, once you get to college, the pure quantity, like, what I'm talking about. Like, going from like high school or travel ball, club ball, whatever it is, and throwing your freshman year of college, it's like completely different. So
you're throwing so much.
Take care of that. take care of that.
Absolutely. This
Yeah.
ties in so perfectly with another question that I got from my ABT community.
Okay.
It was, how often did you pitch when you were young? And how do you avoid overuse?
Young, that's a relative age.
That's fair. I will say, let's kind of hang out closer to like I would say 12 to 14.
12 to 14. Okay. So I would say that I probably, like, let's say tournament season, like during the summer, I probably pitched twice a week, and then I pitched like every game on the weekend. So for example, like a schedule would be like, let's say Saturday, Sunday, you're playing games and pitching in them. Monday would be off. I would be off. Tuesday, I pitch a practice. Wednesday, maybe I don't do anything Wednesday, depending on how sore I was. And then Thursday, maybe I had a lesson. Wednesday or Thursday had a lesson. And then Friday was usually like school and travel or whatever. And then Saturday games. But I think like a solid, like every other day is always a good rule of thumb. I also, like, let's say you're in the off season, my general theme is like saying, okay, if you pitch 3 days, like let's say you're in a period of time where you're trying to get a lot better, maybe you're not having a lot of games. My rule of thumb is like 3 days you're maintaining what you're doing, 4 days you're getting better, 5 days you're getting a lot better, 6 days you're going down, like you're going downhill. So
I love that.
I feel like the sweet spot is that 4 days or 5 days, depending on like what you're doing at your practice. Of course, you got to take that into context, like how much you're actually practicing, like how many pitches you're throwing, how hard the practice is, how intense the practice is. But normally I would say like 3 days is a solid amount of time to maintain what you're doing. And also 4 days like is a good amount of time to be able to show improvement, like get better. And then 5 days, this depends on like what you're doing at your practice. More than that, you're probably gonna like, maybe create some bad habits that we'll have to correct, things like that.
Yeah. And when you say like practicing for a day, could like a 20-minute efficient workout be enough for that day?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think when people think practice, they're like, oh, 2 hours a day. And I don't think I don't think that's like necessary at all, especially at a younger age.
Yeah, I would say like a good example. Here's a good example. So remember how I told you I started pitching when I was like 12 with my mom in the bucket. So like at that point, like we didn't go to the field. We like just pitched in the front yard. And my mom would literally, like my youngest sisters, they would be down for a nap. My mom put them down for a nap. I set up the bucket and like got everything prepared. Okay, it's pitching time. Let's go. And my mom would set a timer, like the egg timer. And I think it would either be 30 to 45 minutes every day or every other day. Yeah. And that was like the pitching time that we allotted. So, and that really ended up setting up a good routine, got my fundamentals down. It was enough time at that age. But I do think like you can get a solid workout in as a pitcher, like in 20 minutes. I think the sweet spot for pitching is 30, and then if you're like a little bit older and more of a like the older age groups, I would say an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. I do think that like pitching isn't like hitting. Okay. Let me just say that like hitters go out there, they could be hitting out there for like 3 hours, right? Like you just swing and swing, right?
We could.
Like how many
until I got older.
Yeah, you could just be out there swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging, like tees, front toss, live, tee, front toss, machine, this drill, that drill, buckets, buckets, buckets. But like pitching isn't like that. Pitching, you can't just like go and throw like for 2 hours straight and expect to still be good. Like you need to put a time frame on yourself, and so that you're more efficient, because you can't go out and pitch for 2-3 hours at a time and expect the same results as like a hitter would have. So pitching style of practice is very different than a hitting style of practice. So yeah, be more efficient in your practices.
I really like that approach. Like if it was the same time every single day, it's like nothing else mattered in that time. And you were almost excited to get out there because you're like, now it's time to pitch, you know? And then like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
With my mom, it was like the best.
I love that so much because I think that people, their practice schedules for themselves, they're not able to sustain because it's just, you know, what time do I have? Like, it's just, it varies all the time. But if you can like find that like specific day of the week, specific time, and you know, this is going to be your time, you tend to like put a lot more effort into that when you planned it out and this is your time and nothing else literally matters. So I think that's really, really important. And I hope people really took the time to really process that because it may not be that your hitter or pitcher is like lacking motivation. They just may not have a routine, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think having that routine for practice was really good. And then like, even like if you did like similar practice style, like I remember like if I had a lesson, my mom would give me like, I had to do all those chores, but my mom would like, be like, well, you know, you're going to do what you did in the lesson. So like, we just like repeated literally the lesson over and over, you know, like, well, we did this and then we did this, like, okay. Yeah. So like knowing what you're going to do in the practice is really important. But I tell you what, like that routine that I developed with my mom at a young age, like when the twins were down for a nap and like that little egg timer, like not only did it make me a better pitcher, it just made me like a better softball person. Like, we didn't go anywhere to like, we didn't go to the field. Like, and nowadays there's so much, the equipment is so much better, but like we're on an old bucket. Like I was pitching in like my old tennis shoes in the middle of like the street. It was like timeout, cars pass, like time in. We lost so many softballs. Like we just made it work for the time that we had. It would have been great to go to like a beautiful indoor or like, I mean, on special days, we got to go to like the elementary school park and I got to pitch on like the little mock field there. But like, you know, I just think like we made it work and like having that timer, like it really made me look forward to it. And it was like kind of like a cool time.
Yeah, that's so cool. And like time that you got to spend with your mom, I'm sure you have like a million stories about that relationship and that bond. Good and bad.
My poor mom. My poor mom, like all the bruises that she got.
Yeah. One of the things you just said that I really loved, it reminds me of my dad and I when we would hit in the backyard. We always went over the things that we did at lessons. Like if we didn't know, you know, what specifically to work on, well, I had a coach that I went to for lessons that told me exactly what I needed to spend time on. So people are trying to like figure out this whole practice routine and then they're like, it's analysis by paralysis. They don't actually do anything. But if you truly just like, if you go to a coach and you're like told these drills will help you, you have the practice plan. Like you have the practice plan. So don't overcomplicate it. Just get out there and do the things that you know you need to get better at.
Exactly. Just repeat what your coach told you to do, or like even like the format that your lesson, your hitting coach or pitching coach gave you. And if you repeat that, and then when you go back the next time, the coach is going to see it, right? And then they're going to have to advance you faster. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. This is a question that I've been curious about because I know you played in Japan and you still are playing there. And I have started to realize how seriously they take softball. Like their practices are what, like 5 or 6 hours long? Oh my gosh. Can you tell me, and we're already like so deep into this, but as much as you can share just about like how seriously they take the game and what practices might look like it may kind of like shock a bunch of people listening, but I think it's worth talking about.
Well, I think the first thing is obviously like it's professional. It's professional there. So like just keep that with a grain of salt. Like we're doing this as our job, like 9 to 5, basically.
Yep.
But we usually do about an hour warm up, and it includes, you know, your stretching, sprinting, dynamics. A lot of times it'll include like some speed development work. So like sprinting speed, running speed, just footwork kind of thing. Different sort of agilities like that. We'll play catch. we play catch, we take a break, we do a full infield, outfield almost every single day. And what I think is really cool over there is that their outfielders throw to bases almost every day, which is like unheard of in the US, especially. But yeah, they throw to bases like almost every day. So it becomes like they become conditioned, right? You become conditioned to that style of throwing, that intensity level of throwing. And the same with infield and pitchers and all that. So we do defense in the morning, and then we take a lunch break. In the afternoon, I usually pitch. Usually it lasts an hour to an hour and a half-ish with all of our like talking and everything. And then, they're hitting and they just hit and hit and hit and hit.
Yes. Yeah.
Just like I said, like hitters can hit on forever. So they just like keep hitting.
Literally.
And then at some point, they finish hitting. And they do like tee, front toss, machine. A lot of times they'll do live, or depending on the day, sometimes we do like situational hitting as well. And then after that, when we finish, we like rake the field, clean all equipment, organize our equipment and stuff. So we do that as well. We are the grounds crew. We are the players are the grounds crew. We are the equipment managers. We do all of that. And then after that, people usually tend to do maybe if they want some individual work from the coaches, or if they want to do a little bit extra weightlifting or things like that. And then, that's our day.
Yeah, I wanted you to talk about it because I remember when I was told that you guys practiced for like 6 hours, I was like, excuse me? Like I remember having travel ball practices that were like 3 or 4 hours. And I'm like, dude, I can't do this. I can't do this every day. And you guys literally do it every day. And I'm sure but it's like a lot of routine stuff. So, a lot of it's just, every day we do this. It's like, your typical everydays, but it's pretty cool. I mean, and I'm glad you mentioned it is a professional thing. So that you athletes or parents, coaches out there that are like, oh, I need to run a 6-hour team practice. You don't. These are professionals.
You don't know.
There's a reason why they can practice that long. They can pay great money to play out there. So,
And we're conditioned to do that. I mean, like we go through the weights, the agilities, the conditioning, the mobility, all of those things to be able to like compete at a high level. And so don't forget about that piece. And also like, we want to be out there because we're professionals, but we're also athletes. We want to win.
Yes.
We want to win.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, talk about all the accolades. You have so many over there. You were like 6-time Japan League champion, 4-time Japan League MVP, and Toyota, it is probably the top team in Japan, right?
Yeah. So Toyota, the team I play for, and then Big Camera, which is the team Yukiko Ueno plays for, who was the Japan national team ace. She was on the 2008 team. And then she'll also be on the 2021 team. So her team and my team were like rivals.
Yeah.
So we kind of go back and forth depending on the year and all of those things that are happening.
That's so crazy. So I have to ask, because I don't know if anybody's not listening, the 2008 Olympics kind of left like a little scar in all the USA people's heart. Okay. This was your first Olympics. And you got a silver medal, and Ari Yamada just decided to hit a home run. She actually ended up being my teammate.
Yes, I know.
Oh my gosh. Her and Kazuki are two of my favorite people in the whole world. They're so funny. But was it kind of weird? Because I think it was maybe soon after the Olympics, you started playing in Japan. Like, what is that like? Is it kind of neat to kind of get to know people from other teams? What is that experience like?
Well, 2008 silver medal. Like, I was both like excited and devastated at the same time. It was like the weirdest period of my life, because it's like the first thing I know. And like, I ended up playing really well there, but then like the cookie didn't crumble the way that I thought it was going to. Like disappointed, but then like I was happy, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel. Like there's all these emotions. But Natasha Watley, like, and I were being like asked to play in Japan, and I had like several different offers to play over there. And Tasha and I started like talking about Toyota and like the opportunity to play. And we talked about it a lot, and just to kind of discuss that, like, what a great opportunity for us to continue playing. Right now, softball's not in the Olympics. Japan is obviously very talented. Like, what if we could go over there and like relearn the game, like learn a little bit more? We have a chance to like make a living doing this. Like, let's try it for a year. And this was in 2009. So this is like pre-FaceTime era, you guys. Like, there was no FaceTime.
Yes.
But it was Skype then. But,
and it didn't work very well.
Yeah. We've come a long way. It's now a lot easier for people to be over there. And at the time, like a lot of professional athletes in the US, it's kind of like, well, you shouldn't go to Japan. But now it's definitely accepted a lot more. And I think that has to do with Tasha and I have been over there for so long playing, and talking about it for so long. But at that time, I saw it as an opportunity to continue playing, because if I didn't, like, would I still be playing today? Probably not. And I can say that because, softball was out of the Olympics in 12. It was out in 16. The pro league, I was playing in it, but it is what it is, if you know what I mean.
It's 3 months.
If you know.
And that's it.
Yeah. If you know, you know. So like, it was a great opportunity to try to continue playing, and why not give it a chance? Bottom line, I gave it a chance, and I ended up like loving it and loving the opportunity to continue playing. I felt like I went over there and was really able to become a better athlete. I learned a lot about myself as an athlete, but more importantly, I learned a lot about myself as a person. And I think that impacted me more as an athlete. So yeah, I've been over there ever since. It's like year 13 or 14, I think. So
that's so awesome.
Go Toyota.
Yeah, you should be wearing the shirt. What are you doing? No, I'm kidding.
I know. Why didn't I wear my Toyota shirt? Nike.
I told Kazuki I was going to be interviewing her today. I know you just saw each other. Yeah, she's so excited to listen to it. Yes. So do you also feel, because they can train, so like they just have perfected the training regimen, I believe, that probably kept you in the best shape too when you were not playing in the US?
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. I think they definitely opened my eyes to some of the different styles of training. American softball, we're big, we're strong. We're strong. Japan is a little bit quicker, like as far as like foot speed, that's part of their game. Defense is their game, I would say. Like defensive play is their game. And then foot speed on the bases is their game. So whereas Americans, we're strong, we're powerful. But so we kind of like counteract that. But I was able to like really kind of like learn a lot about the conditioning piece and how they train and how they Japanese style of softball, I guess I would call it. Yeah.
It's so different. I really, now that you're saying this, I think I would have had a blast over there, because that was like my MO. It was like my speed, my smarts on the bag, like my defensive play was like, I can't say it was my baby, because hitting is, obviously my baby.
Girl, you can hit.
But
you're a good hitter.
Thank you, friend. Means a lot. But I just love the quickness and speed of just good footwork. And, I always say that because I love basketball, it kind of helped me with that too. But, geez, I know you and Tosh talk about it all the time. Speaking of Tosh, we need to I asked her to give me a question for you. For those of you who haven't listened to the podcast with Natasha Watley, you need to go listen, especially if you're a slapper. But because you guys had spent so much time over there, she's even still coaching over there, which your love is clearly in both countries. And I'm all about it. Natasha said, who's your favorite teammate to drink wine with?
Natasha Watley, of course. Red wine, please. Nice
Yeah.
cab.
Yes. Oh my God. So literally I thought about that because I knew when we played together, that was something we bonded over. I'm totally going to drink a glass of wine for you tonight.
Please, please.
Celebration.
Oh my God.
This has been an absolute blast. There's so many other things I wanted to ask you, but I truly believe like I want to obviously be conscious of your time. And I still have 5 more questions that I want to ask you.
Okay.
If you're cool with it. They'll be quick ones. Don't worry.
All right. I am ready.
Okay.
What you got? What you got? What you got?
All right. All right. The first one is, and it should be super simple, is what do you love most about softball?
Everything. That's not a good.
I love it. You can.
I love everything about softball. I love being outside. I love playing on the dirt. I love the team. I love my teammates. I love that moment when the game stands still for a second and you have to like compete with everything you have. I love that moment. And you kind of like the game slows down and kind of goes on pause for a second and you're like, all right, this is it. Like, here I am, time to bring it on, or whatever it is. I love seeing amazing plays by my teammates. I love the excitement of the fans. Gosh, I just love this game. I really, truly love everything about it.
Aw, beautiful answer. I love that. So basically what you love most about it is just the entire thing itself.
Yeah, just like everything.
Yes, that's so good. All right. Who is someone that you've looked up to and why?
I love Lisa Leslie.
Is there a reason?
Yep. I could pick, all the great softball players, which are very amazing to look up to. Lisa Fernandez, Michelle Granger, Michelle Smith, Laura Berg, Crystal Bustos, all these amazing athletes in our sport. But I love Lisa Leslie. I love she's another tall basketball player. She was like the first woman to dunk, and she broke barriers in women's basketball, and she proved that women can dunk. She proved that women can do almost anything, and she did it with such grace and poise, and I just loved that about her.
Great answer. I'm gonna have to, I don't know her, but Instagram's a beautiful thing, so maybe I'll just like send her a little snippet like, hey.
Yeah, she now announces on she now is an announcer on like the WNBA, and I think she also does announcing on the NBA as well.
I love that. Speaking of which, have you done announcing? Have you done that? Is that something that you'd be interested in doing? Because I know you do motivational speaking, but
yeah, I do motivational speaking, and I really love that that piece. It's so rewarding, and like I feel like impactful. I've done a little dabble in announcing. Right now I'm playing,
that's like focus. The only thing on your mind. So, I totally get that.
So I, down the road, I would love to like maybe explore that more.
Yeah, totally makes sense. You're so focused on 2021 Olympics that like, I didn't even ask you about the Olympics yet. How are you feeling? Like, where are you at? I mean, we're in March of 2021. We're finally getting close to it. Where are you at?
You know what? Like, I feel good. I feel good. I feel grateful. I feel like I am in my process, if that makes sense, like in sticking to it. I'm really proud of our USA team right now. We had to go through a lot last year with our tour, being named in 2019, the tour, the dramatic COVID piece for our team was very, very dramatic. And then like just fighting for opportunities to be together, to be able to play together, to just find ways when there wasn't ways. And so I am very, very proud of where our team is right now, and super excited for the process that we're on, and just being fully committed to that process. So
I have goosebumps right now. I'm so excited. This is going to be a great year. I can just feel it.
It really is.
So good. Okay. this is one that maybe your mom is going to be your biggest influence, but what was the greatest lesson that your parents taught you growing up?
I would say, yeah, I would say, just to like keep going, like don't keep going, like
Yeah.
pick yourself up and keep going.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
you could say it in a nutshell, it's almost like never give up. But
Right.
I think they were so intent on like not letting the outside world take you away from what you really wanted to do. And like, don't let, the negativity, the distractions, all the other things that kind of like can bring you down and like make you sad. Like, hey, Monica, like pick yourself up, like get moving, like let's keep going. Like you have a chance to positively influence your day and your life. Like don't keep going, like just keep going.
Yeah. Like find a way to keep going, take action. Cause
Take
like,
action.
yeah.
Mhm.
Cause like that's sometimes the hardest thing to do. Like when we're in a rut or we've just had like the biggest failure, like getting back up is the toughest part. That's so good.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you feel like the world is crumbling on you.
Yeah.
So, and it's not.
That's so
Get back
good.
up, keep going.
Yes. All right. Here's a very selfish question for me. I really just need to know this answer. Where the heck do you
Uh-oh.
buy your pants? We're both very tall people.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I can't tell you how many pairs of pants I have from Buckle because like they were like the only ones that had long enough pants for me.
Mhm.
Like, please tell me all the things because your girl over here needs some help.
Okay. Yeah, buckle was like a total thing for me. The internet is great, just like talljeans.com, or I think it's
Really?
like
That's
long tall Sally, long elegant legs is one.
mm,
Nordstrom has some ones that you can order or they'll order for you. But if I'm being 100% honest, if I have a chance to wear shorts, I'm wearing them because I don't want to deal with jeans. Like,
that's fair. That's fair. But us
um,
Midwestern people, we don't exactly have that option year round. But I feel
leggings with boots. No.
oh yeah. Oh totally. That's a thing. I can't tell you how many Lululemon pants I own. I actually found a
Yeah.
pair of yoga pants from Lululemon that were like especially made for tall people. And it was on the clearance
Mhm.
rack. I was like, are you kidding me? This is a once in
Yeah.
a
No.
purchase.
They are doing. I will say, like, that is one kind of like pretty cool thing with all like this inclusivity stuff that's going on in the world right now. Is I think like people are and companies are being a lot more cognizant of like different shapes and sizes.
Yes,
So
for
um,
sure.
it's definitely benefiting tall people. Nordstrom is a good place to look. Buckle obviously was a thing.
Mm,
And then long elegant legs or long tall Sally, I think is
yeah.
where I kind of end up.
I hope I didn't just lose a bunch of people because I asked this question, but it seriously was a massive issue for me growing up. Like it was
Oh,
like the worst trying to find pants, especially
oh
cool
my gosh.
school pants. I had to wear khakis in high school. Those things were up to my ankles. That's just how it
Yeah,
was.
it's just so sad. And then everyone like is looking at you. Like my heart hurts for you hearing this story because I was there and I was so like insecure about it.
Yes, I knew you could
It's
relate.
awful.
I
It
knew
was
you could
awful.
relate.
Yeah.
Oh, this is perfect. Okay, last and final question I have for you is what legacy do you want to leave on the game?
Um, I think that I really want to leave a legacy of growth, but like I'm really like right now into like the professional side and like the giving back to grow your own sport. The more people that we can keep in this game, the more athletes that play college softball and find avenues to work in softball.
Mhm.
How can you be a champion for this sport? How can you be a champion for the growth in this sport? And that is the legacy that I want to see. Is I want to see more and more people finding a way to grow the game. The more athletes that play post college and then play professionally, whether it's for 2 years or 15 years, the more likely they are to stay in the sport and continue to give back and to continue to work in the sport and grow and make a living in this sport. That's what I want to see because I think that is so incredibly important. And I think that women's sports, softball in general, needs more of that because we
Amen.
want we want them in the big meetings. So that's what
Yes.
I want to see. And so I'm so proud of everything that you're doing here with the podcast and all of your side businesses, and super proud of that. And just, all the women out there that are creating a lifestyle, creating businesses within the softball world. So props to you all.
Oh, you're the best. All right. Well, tell the world what you're up to right now, where they can kind of interact with you, maybe on social, or I know you have a scholarship that's really awesome and different ways that you're
Yes.
giving back. So talk about you.
Okay. My name's Monica. Been playing softball a long time. I'm training for the 2021 Olympic Games.
Amen.
But outside of actual on the field stuff, you can always find me on my website. That's the easiest way to if you're interested in an event, speaking, all sorts of things like that. You can, there's different options there that you can pick from through my website. The best social media places for me is probably going to be Instagram or my Facebook fan page. And I do, like you mentioned, I do have a scholarship, which I'm really passionate about. Started in 2013, I think. And so we're pretty pumped for that. By the time this airs, the deadline will be passed, but you can always donate to it. But it's a leadership scholarship for female athletes, and you have to play multi-sports in high school to apply for it. So that's super important. And that's just my charitable way of giving back and helping empower some of our youth high school athletes that maybe they need help. College is expensive, right? But I do believe education is a powerful thing in our lives. And you can have a scholarship, like if you got a partial scholarship to Tennessee or to Notre Dame, you can apply for this scholarship and still win. So I just want to say that that's important to know, because, the scholarship game can be diced up and chopped up in many different ways. But really proud to be able to give back in that way. And then other than that, I'm just, your all around pitcher, and just living my dream daily and finding ways to continue to grow this sport and be an advocate for softball.
Well, it's clearly evident in everything that you're up to. This was an absolute honor to have you on the pod. I know so many people have, tons of notes from today that they're excited to do with their athletes. And man, am I excited to watch you compete in the 2021 Olympics in Tokyo. Like, let's go.
Let's go.
Like, you've been there, a million times in your life.
Let's get pumped.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on, Mon.
Yeah, thank you.